Welcome to the Profitable Leaders Summit. My name is Alana Fulvio. I have my friend here, John Cooper, who I call Coop. Actually, his friends call him Coop. I'm so excited for him to be here with you. As a profitable leader himself, over and over again, he's going to share over the next 20 minutes some of his story and his message to successes. And just, he's a very unique individual. He doesn't have a traditional journey and how he's arrived at profitability as a leader. And he doesn't see profitability as just one lane. So you're also going to wait till the end. He has some nuggets of gold at the end that he's going to share with you. And then really you're going to want to go look him up later and go research his background as well, because it's very, very interesting. And what he's doing in the world is really powerful. So thank you, John, for being here. I appreciate you for giving your time. You're a busy, busy man. And being in service of people really is really who you are and what you do in the world. And you've succeeded in life by doing that. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, Alana.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Amazing. So yeah, let's get started. I remember when we first met, you shared with me your journey, and it wasn't like that typical, I'm going to go apply for a job, or I'm going to go start a business, or I'm going to, it wasn't that typical journey, but you've really created success in your life. But again, it's not just one lane of success. You don't see profitability and success as just one thing. So can you share some of your story and some thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think that may be a good place to start. So if somebody does look me up, they'll say, well, wait a minute, is this one person, or is this an amalgam of 4 or 5 different people all put into one LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, true.
Because that's essentially how it's all worked for me. And it wasn't with any forethought or super amount of scientific engagement on my side. It was basically the result of kind of an interested perspective that I don't know how I don't know how I got it, but I started that way. So, coming right out of undergrad and trying to think about, what do I do when I start, and going down a very traditional path that had a very traditional perspective, in this case, accounting and finance, very, very straight up the middle. You might get a 10% raise next year if you're lucky.
Right.
And your job, you might get a even more interesting office space kind of spreadsheet to review. That didn't last for long, for me. So it turned out that I stayed connected with a lot of people, and people said, I've just started working on this or that, and if that sounded interesting to me, I would do whatever kind of research I could do and try to, kind of fulfill my intellectual curiosity and then move that way. And so, some of the moves were not that great. Other moves were kind of good. So, from age 21 and finance with Deloitte on a very prospective program, sliding over to corporate strategy at American Express, and working with some of the most brilliant people. Sorry, I told you my phone.
That's okay.
Working with some of the most brilliant people, I think, kind of back in the day, and thinking through, positioning of products and services and solutions and fintech to consumers, and taking the hard and making it easy, and learning, in learning how to do that the right way versus the way most people try to think about strategy, and then moving from there into a kind of an amalgam of finance and corporate strategy, and moving into mergers and acquisitions by the time I was 24 years old, and traveling with a very acquisitive company, a $26 billion company, and at the young age of 24. Wow. And being involved from that company over through First Data when we spun that out, over through McKesson when we moved our healthcare business there, probably somewhere around 200 companies that I was involved in acquiring, which gives you a very interesting perspective, Elena, in that it actually fed my personality in that I could really think strategically and operationally and financially about 200 companies and how they ran and how they chose to build their business model and what problems they were satisfying in the marketplace and how they retained customers and satisfied people and attracted great employees, really across a whole number of industries, from travel and transportation to hospitality to restaurant to you name it. And really all with a kind of a technology backbone. So, my son once accused me of having a career path that looked like a zigzag and not a straight line.
Yeah.
And it's true,
Yeah.
and you might imagine that somebody that grew up that way would quickly fall for the siren song of venture capital and startup, which I did. And, I took a couple of senior leader or CEO roles in young companies that were startup companies. And, I got punched in the nose a couple of times, but I don't regret the experience.
Right.
I had some successes a couple of times too. So, I think it's all about embracing what's really interesting to you and how to make your work part of your satisfaction profile as a human being.
Right.
My father, I'm from the Midwest. My father's very stoic. If you ever call my father and say, oh, work is so, it's so hard, it's so difficult right now, I might, I'm kind of thinking about doing something else. He'll be quiet for a while and then he'll say, well, why do you think they call it work? I don't agree with that philosophy, and I don't think it has to be that way.
Right.
Right now, what I do for work, I work very hard right now on a whole bunch of things that I really enjoy.
Yeah. And I think to pause there for a second too, because I remember when we had our first conversation and I learned, I looked at your LinkedIn profile and I went, I'm so interested about how did you make all those choices? And actually what I learned was something that you just said at the end was you chose yourself and what you love to do. And actually throughout your career, you haven't had to say, here's my resume, I'm going to go submit, or I'm going to go hunt those down. People have actually found you or said, I want you to continue with us or work with us. And I think it's a testament to, I know myself, because I've been in a state once in a great while in my life prior to founding my own company was, what should I do? And should I go play in that, the lane that everyone else shows me? And really you stayed true to yourself. And it's come out in spades because people have wanted you to work with them, for them. And I think if you were doing something other than your truth, you wouldn't be happy, you wouldn't be profitable, and people wouldn't want to partner with you.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That's a super important message and nobody ever told me this. Maybe it's just, part of the way I was culturally brought up, but, I've historically just told the truth, right? If somebody says, hey, Alana, I want you to go build a helicopter and be in charge of engineering at Lockheed, you would say, yeah, I'm sure I've got the experience to do that. You probably wouldn't say that. You'd say, geez, I've never built a helicopter.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that credential, but hey, if you want me to give it a try, I'm intrigued by it.
Right.
So, and I think that's the trick, right? So, part of being kind of true to yourself and doing things that you're interested in is being true to everybody else.
Yeah.
And say, look, sure, I might be able to do a good job of this. I think I have this experience that I bring to the table, but there are a number of things I might not know, but I'm happy to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I promise, whatever you hear from me is going to be 100% what I know. It's not going to be measured or mediated. And, for me, that's worked forever.
Yeah.
Like people are okay with that.
I think I can't back that enough about what you just said, because I know that a lot of people wonder how not only to stay true to themselves, but to lead, right? And some people fear authenticity or true honesty will get them in trouble, or maybe they shouldn't be completely authentic with the people that they either lead or partner with. And I think personally that gets them more in trouble than not, in the way of not just trouble that, oh, they were wrong, but more like you can't build teams and strong cultures and your life around inauthenticity. At least that's what I've experienced.
No, and I think this is where I'm going to give a little credit to the millennials, right? Because I am not a millennial. You are a millennial. I'm going to
Mm,
give credit to the millennial. I think you're close enough.
Plus.
The millennials in my and I love millennials. It's a whole different culture of people to work with, but I think a lot more honest. I think the millennials have developed
Yeah.
somehow a much more kind of forthcoming, honest UI, where they're going to say, I know that's part of the job, but I'm really not comfortable doing that.
Right.
And I think you have to respect that. I respect that
100%.
as an employer, as a hiring manager, and as a leader. Just tell me.
Yeah.
And if you don't like something because you're uncomfortable with your background or your ability to be successful there, that's actually really good for me to know.
Yeah.
I really need to know
Yeah.
that. And if you don't like something because you feel like it might be a little, larcenous or malicious or untoward, tell me right away, because I
Right.
really don't want any of that in the house either.
Right.
So, and it does, nobody ever can take the claim of being the smartest person in the room. I certainly can't.
No way.
You never know who the smartest person in the room is. And in the early 2000s, when I showed up at Microsoft, I thought I was the smartest person in the room. Right? I'd just been doing corporate strategy and M&A for American Express. I've just been doing corporate strategy and M&A for First Data. I'd gone through McKesson. I'd done a whole bunch of M&A. Microsoft asked me to come help them with enterprise sector M&A, and this was Microsoft moving from consumer to enterprise. I knew everything about enterprise technology, and I knew a lot about M&A. But what I didn't know was Microsoft's hiring culture, which is, and still is today, and it was from the beginning, from 1985 and before, was just find the smartest person, and they'll figure out, how to do their job.
Yeah.
Which I kind of agree with.
Yeah.
But so you never knew going into a meeting at Microsoft and carrying all your books on, M&A opportunity or an acquisition. You never knew if it was going to be, kind of the dude in the surf shorts,
Yeah.
or it was going to be the young lady wearing the hula skirt that's going to blow you up, because it could be either one of them.
Could be anybody.
Because they could be burning 150 IQ, and they could be running through your 17-page Excel model and already be on page 15 and found 2 or 3 algorithms that just don't work.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's what you didn't know. And that was such an incredible lesson on, what individuals can bring to the table. And if given the license, how much people can add to the puzzle, right? So, and in Microsoft, everybody had the license to call bullshit on everybody.
Right.
And it's still true today. There is no hierarchy per se.
Which is key, because as one human being, we cannot know everything. It's impossible. And if we don't, then we don't put everything out on the table, and then we can't move forward and create. If everyone's withholding, like you said, truth and authenticity. And also, I think one thing I honor about what you saw in that moment that you just shared was that, you brought to the table, okay, I think I'm the smartest in the room, but you were willing to say, because there's still people that could walk out of that room saying, oh, I'm still the smartest, but get that person over there trumped them, or whatever they brought to the table, which said, as a true leader is really, and people will think they're leaders, but leaders really, in my mind, are the ones that say, I'm either going to hire the right people around me, I'm going to give acknowledgement to who I give, empower the people around me, and do it as a team versus saying me.
And Elaine, I think that to add to that, I think it's respect what everybody brings to the table and listen carefully.
Yeah.
And nobody that's willing to say something does not deserve to be heard. And
Right.
the smart leader listens to all of it.
Yeah.
And you know, Bill Gates had for leadership kind of onboarding back in the day. He used to, and Bill was young, you know, when I was there, and we all were a lot younger. But he used to say, "Hey, if we have a big problem or a big project or a big solution we're trying to roll out, and we set up 3 groups of people to go solve the problem. And the first group is a bunch of MBA kids that all came out of Harvard, and the second group is a bunch of a bunch of MBA guys that came from Harvard. The second group is guys and girls that came from MBA schools all across the United States, and the third group is guys and girls that came from schools all around the world."
Yeah.
And then he would say, okay, so who's going to get to their answer to the problem first? And of course, the answer is the homogeneous group. All guys, all came from Harvard. They know what the answer is. They're going to agree real quickly. They've had one path, one education.
Right.
So first answer. And then he would say, okay, who comes up with the best answer? And so then you scratch your head and you say, okay, is it going to be the guys that are the homogeneous group, the heterogeneous group, all from grad schools in the U.S., or is it going to be the global group? And of course, the answer is the global group.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the global group, he would say then the global group has, it's got its issues. You have to pay for it because it's also the slowest to the answer.
Right.
So they're going to take the longest to get there, but it's going to be closest to right. And at that point in time, in 2000, I think 50% of Microsoft revenues were outside of the U.S. Today, it's 80%.
Right.
So, so rest of world, he knew way back then how important rest of world was.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't get that,
Yeah.
So right now, even in this country, the rest of world counts a lot because we're hiring all over the United States. Yeah. Our new employees are coming from everywhere, and sometimes they're U.S. educated, oftentimes they're not, but they're bringing important, unique, differentiated perspectives to the table.
Yeah, I can't agree with that more, because I think, one, I see it as diversification of who you partner with, who you work with, and who works with you, like who is within your organization. And as you said, give everyone a seat at the table, give everyone the ability to say what's there for them, and listen as a leader. The second part of that, which I think you didn't say the word, but I would love to pull this out and hear what you have to say about it, is culture. Is truly in regard to what I'm hearing is there's those 3 groups. And actually, before you said, I wonder which one is the last one, I was going to raise my hand and say the third group, because the culture, and not just that it's a global culture, which I think is the diversification of leadership to take on, to be open to, and to engage with, to know how to do that, but also to build that within their organizations, to build that within their teams, is so important. And it's also, I would say, sensitive, and it takes intentionality to create powerful cultures within organizations as well as within leadership. So I'd love for you to share that, because you didn't say the word, but I thought it would be interesting to hear what your perspective was on that.
And you're cheating because I'm kind of into that, right?
Kinda.
So, yeah. So, as a leader, I think over the years, you become much more tuned to culture. And this is why I think, and Alana, you're in the Bay Area, I'm in the Bay Area also. This is why we see oftentimes the success of groups of people that have worked together prior get the band together again, and they do it again, and it's better, and they do it a third time, and it's better, because they've developed not only a work pattern and a work relationship, but a culture that works for them. And culture is kind of a funny thing. You can read a lot about culture, and you can, like you just said, you can prospectively try to develop a culture. But the sneaky part about culture is that you've already got one.
Oh yeah.
So, and
Whether it's intentional or not, it creates.
whether it's intentional or not, you've got culture. So it's like,
Yeah.
whatever. It's like you've got a virus, right? You got it.
Yes.
So now, what are you going to do with this?
Yeah.
And speaking of the virus, now we're in a time in 2020 where culture is being tested at its limits.
Oh yeah.
Because employers, the relationship between employers and employees is no longer physical; it's distant, and it's emotional, and it's intellectual, and it's pushing through a really hard time in kind of our professional and personal lives. So, where you could say companies have been working, virtually. If you think about the big consultancies like Accenture, KPMG, or Deloitte, they've been working like this forever.
Yeah.
A lot of companies have not,
Agreed.
right? So, and so culture, you have to understand you've got it already, and now it's how do I make it what I want it to be? And it's not like the old days where kind of a leader can just say, "This is our culture," like, as a talking head. I mean, it's actions, and the millennials once again are super qualified and to analyze company organizational actions against their stated culture.
Yep.
And they're fast. They're like, we would kind of let this go in the old days. The millennials, no. The millennials will say, I know for a fact that when I was onboarded here, the company culture was blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And I know for a fact, I just heard 4 things this week that are in contrast to that culture profile. And therefore, I'm going to quit.
Yeah. Oh, and they will.
Are super focused on culture, and they have no problem quitting because they are running right back to their baby boomer mom and dad, and they're moving right back into their old bedroom, and they'll do it overnight.
Right.
It's not like we were in the old days. It was like, oh my God, I can't quit my job. They're in the wind. But you have to have a respect for that.
Yeah.
Let's hold the world true to what the world is saying.
Right.
Let's hold our organization true to what it's saying.
Right.
And so, I'm super focused on culture. I think it's the next big wave of dynamic in everything from organizational development to corporate development. It's got a big correlation with success.
For sure.
Super big correlation, and you can prove it. And I think now in 2020, and we just talked about it, as the United States has now discharged 20 to 25% of our employees, and we have to think about bringing back 20 to 25% of our employees over time. A lot of people have stepped back and said, hey, I think this is my chance to do this a little better.
Yeah.
And I know I can't bring them back all at once, but I know I'm going to need to bring 10% back of the 20% gone, and I'm going to have to do it in a week or 2 weeks or a month. And I can't, I have 4 people in my department. How can I do this?
Yeah.
And the answer is we're going to have to use behavioral tools. We're going to have to use AI. We're going to have to use the cloud. We're going to have to really understand, and it's culture focused.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, people don't quit because they can't do the job that it says on their resume, because I've looked at the resume, I looked at the job, it's a fit. It's a 95%, 99% correlation. They quit because they don't like working for you.
Yep.
And they don't like working with you. That's why they quit.
Yep.
The numbers are not a problem. The benefits are not a problem. And we've all been focused on the dollars, the benefits, all this stupid stuff, and matching the CV to the job description.
Yeah.
We can do that. That's easy. They don't quit because of that. They quit because they hate the people they're working with, or they don't like the company that they've signed up with.
Yep.
That's why they.
Exactly.
And that turn is super expensive.
Oh.
And frankly, having cultural mismatch in your company is super expensive. It creates a dissonance that blows everything up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and that one millennial you talked about, the ripple effect of that one millennial leaving will have others leaving as well, questioning the culture, questioning the company. And I've seen it for, almost 20 years now myself, watching uh leadership and owners and founders putting culture, defining it, and ensuring that they're hiring for it after they see resumes, which is interesting, and after they're interviewing, right? Which is interesting because it's like an unintentional culture definition that's left to just happen versus intentionally creating it and weaving it into how to create the retention and profitability by what you just said. You said in the beginning, simplification, right?
Yeah.
How to simplify it by doing it upfront before, and then so that you don't have to work so hard on it. People are already hired, like you said, and they're in versus, crossing. I've seen it too many times. Companies fail because they waited so long to create their culture and hire into that versus check the box skills. I'm really happy you brought that up too. And I knew
Oh,
you're
you
an
brought it up.
advocate well, I brought it up because I know you're an advocate for culture, and I've been an advocate for so long. I actually gotten snapped so many times in my career. Why do you put so much emphasis? And I thought it has to be there, right? I'm not. We're not here to hire someone or to bring partners on because they check boxes. We're here first and foremost because we align in culture, and then we all bring something to the table. So,
Well,
yeah,
and look, you said something else important. You can't change somebody's culture
mm-mm.
after the fact. I mean, you can't say, oh, we're a culture of zebras, and you, Elena, are an antelope. You just have to become a zebra.
Yeah,
Well, antelope can't become a zebra. You can't,
yeah,
and it's never going to happen. So the antelope never should have been hired.
yeah,
You just need to go hire zebras if that's going to be your culture. So the antelope will quit.
yeah.
There's no question.
And
Or,
if
or
they
worse, or worse, the antelope will make a bunch of zebras quit.
I was just going to say, or they stay, and then there's a deterioration of the internal culture that you as a leader don't even know that's happening because you hired the antelope. And I agree. And there's so much, one thing I'll say about culture is most leaders, founders, etc., lead not knowing that, for instance, the profit loss that they're having or the turnover that they're having or other areas that they're bleeding or even company failure happen because of a misalignment or an unintentionality around defining and hiring towards culture. They'll see the results out like the iceberg model, right? They'll see the results of lack of profitability or whatnot, but actually where it started was the actual culture aspect too. So yeah, you and I are both advocates for that. I honor you for that because again, when I first heard your story about, you look at your profile and you say, wow, how did he get all those places? And it wasn't you trying to be someone else. It was you being true to your own personal culture and honest and open as a leader. And the other leaders said, wow, I want that kind of human around. And you've been highly successful and continue to be, I think, first and foremost because of that. And, leading the world in terms of thought leadership and thoughts in terms of how to create profitability faster, so I think that's, and profitability, like you said, is not just cash. It's how do you have a life that you love? And you're such an advocate for, I love it because every time we talk, it's not cash, money. It's really, I want to have a life that I love. And that's first and foremost. So I love your work and not work-life balance, your work and what that means to you, to your life.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing that we talked about momentarily, and I'll touch on that. So I don't think there should ever, if there is a contention between your work and your life, then you need to fix your work, right? Because work is and should be part of your life. And I'm not advocating that, work 24/7 and every, and just work yourself to the bone. I'm saying that if you don't like your work and if your work isn't an interesting part of your life, don't do it. Go find work that is something that you feel is part of your life because you enjoy it and you feel that it improves you and you improve the opportunity and the whole, profitable leadership. When I read the word profitable leadership interview from you, Elena, I did not think about cash.
Right.
I didn't. That you know, I should, right? Because I run a family office. I have a lot of investments.
Right.
Should think about that. But a profitable leadership, you can profit in a lot of ways other than cash. And
Yeah.
right, and if you're profitably developing, you know, kind of young, new professionals in your organization, if you're profitably creating relationships with clients, and I'm not talking about the cash kind of profitable now, you will ultimately achieve the cash kind of profitable.
Agreed.
Because people are going to be happy to work. They're going to be happy to come with a solution. They're going to be happy. Customers will be happy to pay you money. They'll be happy to engage with your team. They'll be happy to enjoy your whatever your goal is in product or solution. And you know that it's not intended to sound namby-pamby. We all know that at the end of the day, you don't have a work product unless there is a margin on the bottom. You know, I know plenty of companies that have strived in beautifully goal-oriented or goal-oriented, socially responsible endeavors that have never figured out how to make a dollar at the bottom. And they're beautiful people. They have beautiful goals, but you know that's not sustainable. You do have to figure out how to make it make money. And you know, I have companies right now in my own portfolio that have put programs together because of the shelter at home orders. And these programs have discounted products and solutions for consumers or people stuck at home or work people stuck at home. And now we're in this weird zone of when do we take the promotions away? Because, you know, the other thing we didn't say about millennials, and which again I respect, which is nothing happens in isolation, because millennials are socially connected, and they are socially broadly connected. So what we have to understand now, first time ever, is I put promotions in place. I made things easier. I made things less expensive. I moved my company into a not profitable operating environment, and now I need to pull it back out. I can't call up and say, "Oh, Elena, thanks for using the Zoom conference we're on right now. I know I've been charging you $9, but it's going to be $90 next month." You know, because what's going to happen?
I'm out.
Everybody's going to the internet. Everybody's going to, you know, and Zoom is destroyed in the event that happens. And you know, these are weird things. Like this is a brand new thing. And this is why culture is really important, because you know, because you really have to sit down and think culturally, like, how would I want this happen to me as a customer? And now, how do I apply that to the company? And then how do I figure out how to deal with this negative cash balance issue, this chasm, brand new chasm that I've got to cross?
Right. I think looking at it, like you're saying, looking at it as is, as it truly is, and creating a plan and development around that, but also being unintentional, you know, because as you talk, every time it's very intentional about being in action around how you show up as a leader for yourself, but also outward, how you show up for that for your customers, how you show up for that with the people that are working for you, the intentionality. Because like you said, your culture, your business, your profitability will be something, whether you're intentional or unintentional about it. It will create its own self.
Yeah, and that's it. That you just wrapped it back around to culture for me. So you hire smart guys, smart leaders. You know, Joe Blow, you know, started Informatica, or Sally Smith, you know, ran a big division of Facebook, whatever. And you hire these people because they have had success in the past, and they are mature, and they're seasoned, and they've dealt with a lot of things. So their pattern recognition, if you're presented with a problem like the one we just talked through, their pattern recognition is going to be pretty good. I remember something like this happened 9.4 years ago. I tried these 7 things. This is the only thing that worked. Thank you. That's fantastic. Occasionally there will be a situation that nobody has dealt with before. And in that circumstance, what you want is you want the right culture. Because the culture, now you don't have pattern recognition to lean on anymore. This is
Right.
not happening. And you can't say, I did X and it did Y, because X and Y's don't play anymore.
Right.
So now you have to say, what do we do today? And I think if you have the right team, the right harmonic, the right culture, then you're going to be better suited to answer the questions you don't know the answers to. And you're going to get there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because it's also going to be balanced around you. You're going to have hired not only the, like you could say, like the core cultural fit, but also the people around you that, like you said in the beginning, is wrapping around to what you said in the beginning, is what others know that you don't know, right? And so getting back to creating that leadership of being that leader who intentionally invests in culture, because I cannot, and anyone watching, I cannot stress this enough. And I brought up culture with Coop, that I know he's intentional about it, but I say this directly to you, is wherever you are within your business growth as building it, even if you're 50 people up or 150 people up or whatnot, like take the time now. Or if you're one person, take the time now. It literally will alter the state of your business and of your life. And I don't say that lightly, because I've watched and I've been in companies that have succeeded and failed, and so has he. And we don't say this just to say it. It's literally, I can't say the Silicon Valley is a bubble for sure, but it's one of the most innovative, if not the most innovative in the world. And we've seen that. And so it's a huge offering that we're offering to you on this call. And I'm glad we brought this up so intentionally around culture, is really who you create, what you create inward. If you invest in yourself, I would say profit in, profit out, right? So if you give to yourself internally and you're true to yourself like Coop was, and you are intentionally investing in your culture and who you align around you and with you, you won't have to work so hard in the future. And like you said, you have different, like that group number 3, you have different mindsets and thoughts. You're guaranteed going to come up with different ideas than that one subset of group of people who all know the same thing. So yeah, I'm really happy we brought that up and talked
Well,
about
yeah,
that.
and look, we are in the Bay Area, so we can say, look, we've had our cultural issues in the Bay
Oh, yeah.
Area, and we've had our cultural issues around the United States and around the world, and they don't end well, and they're
No.
becoming more and more prevalent. Whether it's with the private equity community, who I'm deeply involved with, has had its cultural issues, whether it's with certain startups, who I won't name any names, both East and West Coast and internationally, that have had their cultural issues.
Yeah.
But because of the way the market moves today, and because of the freedom of information, that you can't live with it. You can't live with a cultural fail, because it will leak and it will destroy the company. It will
Yes.
kill them. And
Mhm.
so, Elena's telling the truth. This is not only important for the day-to-day P&L, it's important for the capital value, the equity value of the company. You can lose half of it overnight,
Oh yeah.
culturally.
Oh, hands down. And I think people, hands down, and I think people think, I've heard so many times people say, oh, I'm only one person, or we're only 3 people, we're only 4 people. And I go, it's literally the moment you have the idea of starting, let's say, a business or a leader, I'm like, that's the moment. That's when you become 1 to 2, or even you're 1, create your own culture, and then you go to 2. It's never too early. And like you just talked about, and you don't name names, and you didn't give sizes of startups, and there's all different sizes and types and whatnot. Culture is not particular to what industry. It's not like, oh, high tech, or oh, semiconductor. Oh, it is every company, regardless, agnostic of any kind of industry. It's a fact for every organization. And I think some people think, oh, it's not as much mine, or it's that one over there, or we're too late, or it's too early. Literally, it's not. It's like breathing. If you don't breathe, you stop living. It's the same thing with culture. You have to be intentional about it at any stage. So,
And culture is connected to a lot of things. If a company is tuned well, if an organization is tuned well to its culture, it's going to know relatively quickly when there's cultural dissonance. And I mean relatively quickly. So what that will tell you, if you're a bottling company or a beverage distributor, and you have operations around the world, and you have 17 plants, and you can feel, if you're measuring it correctly and you're monitoring, you can feel cultural dissonance, and you'll be able to identify where the issue is before you start getting lawsuits
Yes.
at that plant in Amarillo, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
because it only takes one bad apple to create cultural dissonance. And just like we said, it's like, it's like letting the antelope into the zebra herd. It's going to be a mess.
Right.
But people aren't paying enough attention to this now, and then I think it's going to change. It will change.
It has to.
Well, I think we've made progress. We understand what it is now. But look, if you think about being a leader, and if you think about leading people and organizing people, like what your session is about here, it's about finding the people that all work well together. That's a key part of leadership, and frankly, when we started thinking about this as there have been books written on it for a long, long time, but we were thinking about, how do we find the best people for the less money or the least money, or how do we steal people from other companies? And those were the early subjects.
Yeah.
Now we're not much interested in those subjects anymore. We're interested in, how do I find 6 people or 60 people that work as if they're moving like a flock of birds that fly in, because that's the way the company's got to be, and it's got to be global.
Yeah, and I identify with that. As having been in-house recruitment for so long, there was the emphasis on how do we find them, where do we search, what are the et cetera, and that has taken not a backseat, but like a secondary, third seat too. But if we don't ensure that they're aligned culturally, the secondary actions and focus aren't going to matter. So yeah, it's really about being able to hire and create, teams around you, whether it be your partners in business, whether people work for you. Like, true, you want to be able to flock like a flock of birds, versus going, why are they going that way? Oh, well, we didn't, they actually like to be a free agent. Well, I thought we hired them as an employee, but they like to be, and then there's a breakdown, and then you got to take time away from business strategy, business focus, to go fix that. So why fix so much? Because history keeps showing, and still today, I will tell you straight out, really what I see is there's 2 lanes. The leaders that are going to choose to intentionally create culture, and the leaders that are going to keep doing what history has shown. But it's so evident, especially with what's going on now, is that everyone has the ability to choose that, and some people don't even know that it's possible. But it's really the current and the future is put culture first, create that first. Don't go, hey, give me a bunch of resumes and expect that to work out, or I'm just going to go, randomly pick some humans. So yeah, to be able to flock together, the intentionality around culture is so important.
And for the young person that's thinking about a career trajectory, or a path of work-life balance for the next number of years, think less about getting XYZ defined job because your uncle paid a lot of money because he was in XYZ job. Think more about what interests you, what intrigues you, what makes you happy, where do you think you really add value? Are you super good at math? Are you super good at literal capabilities? Are you super good at organization? Or develop your own personal profile. I like to do some math things about 40% of the time. I really love to write, and I want to do that at least 20% of the time. And oh, by the way, I'm super good at keeping teams organized and focused, and so I want to do that another 40%, and make your profile and be honest about it. Tell people these are the things I can do, because most modern day, and you would know this better than I, Elena, but most modern day people that are in charge of onboarding and recruiting and identifying the right people are going to look for a balanced individual. You can't have somebody that just sits inside of a spreadsheet all day and can't explain what that spreadsheet does, because they have no literal capabilities. So just put it all out there.
Yeah.
And if you are not good at something, be honest about it. Be honest, because plenty of opportunities exist for people that aren't good at something. You know,
And we're all not good at something.
yeah, we're all not good at something. So
Yeah,
just
exactly.
just be honest. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and the smart recruiter will say, "Oh, I know exactly the job for you because that job
Yeah.
has none of that."
Right.
So, it's or if you want to learn how to be better at something, just say that too. Be
Right.
honest about that. If somebody comes to me and says, "I really want to be better at this. I think I can do it, but I haven't really done it," you know, if you say, "Wow, everything else,
Right.
I believe you're earnestly telling me this. I think you can do it."
Yeah.
A lot easier to teach people something that have the ability and willingness
Yeah.
and integrity to tell the truth
Yeah.
than
Oh,
it
yeah.
is to try to force something in.
Yeah. You can't teach, you can't really teach someone to be honest and integrity, you know? I think actually taking that, what you just mentioned is I hear a lot of, be honest with yourself and be truthful out there because, in my opinion, the world needs whatever magic you have, whatever truth you have. But also as a leader, I'm sure uh, I know you do this actually, is you say it to yourself and you're authentic inward and then outward to the world, but you also ask those people that you partner with, that you employ as well, what do you like to do? Like, and I found the greatest leaders that I have partnered with have been the ones that either weren't asking it and were open to saying, wow, I didn't realize that that mattered to people, and shifted and said, huh, okay. I said, why don't you just ask them? Ask these potential people that you're going to work with what they're excited about, what their weaknesses are, what do they want to work on, and watch how they gravitate towards you, because as a leader, you're honest with yourself and them, and you're willing to look at them and say, what do you love to do? And what do you want to work on? For me, and that's a whole nother culture. That's a culture of growth-minded openness where you want to empower actual leaders. That's what I see. If you want to be a leader, like you said, be true to yourself and be open to being open and hearing other people in terms of their truth. Those are the greatest companies that I know and the greatest people that I know.
Me
That's
too. And
that's why you're here, actually.
we keep trying to create them. We keep trying to develop them and create them and coach them and because it's so much fun.
Yeah. And you're good at it. And that's why I wanted you to, well, one, I love your like your journey and your background, because it's not like this straight line, but it's a true testament to being true to yourself, which I loved. You're I say unapologetically yourself in the best way possible, right? You are who you are. You want to love your life. You want to love what you do. And you continually over and over again create profitability, prosperity for yourself and others. And it's not focused on cash. It's focused on your value for yourself, your value for others, and helping everyone succeed. And I can say that's what I've identified as your culture, right? That's why I wanted you on here, which is really in service of, how do we all get the lives that we want and be happy together and in our own individual way. So every time we talk, I learn something new, and I've learned multiple things on this call. And again, I identify so much with who you are as a leader and who you are out there just as a human being. Because again, business aside, it's really about who the human is and who the person is that you're partnering with or you have in front of you. I think that's probably the most important thing in my book to really look at. That's,
Me too. And I don't think you, as a leader, you should never be ever, feel poorly or feel badly or feel like you've done something wrong. If somebody that you've brought into a role goes well beyond your expectations, well beyond you, and makes fortunes that are multiplied, many times over what your value is, you should just be proud and happy that you had something to do with lighting that little fire. And that that people have said to me for years, right? You've been doing M&A, you've made people millions and millions and millions of dollars, many times much more wealth than you have. Does that ever bother you? And it's like, it's absolutely the opposite.
Yeah.
It's absolutely the opposite, because, if you say, well, I was able to make that connection, I was able to find that person in that role to do exactly that thing.
Yeah.
And look, and you look at what happened. So yeah, you just have to, you have to be, you have to be comfortable and happy in kind of knowing that you're doing okay, you're doing fine, and you're super happy that dude made $100 million.
Yeah.
It, you know, that's
Yeah.
just, it's part of the deal. And again, that is culturally different than most hiring
Oh,
managers, leaders. Most are saying, look, it's going to be me, and everybody else is going to be like this underneath, and it's just not that way. It's just
mm-mm.
not the way it's going to be.
No. No,
I'm
it,
working. I'm
yeah.
working now for some people that I hired years ago.
Yeah. And
I'm happy
and
doing it.
yeah, exactly. And I almost said like, who cares? Meaning like, who cares that it was before they were working for you and now you were, it's like, it, all that doesn't matter. It's like, what's best for everyone's life, and where are you happy, and where are you thriving, and being happy for others. I think that's a great point. I can't, that's actually really, I think in business, a lot of times, and I kind of use the elbows out. It's like, blocking people from getting ahead of you, or we're blocking people's abundance, where it doesn't have to be like that. It's be there for yourself and be there for others, and be happy if other people, make the 100
But
million and you make yours. It's.
well, look, it's human nature. Human nature is just like the antelope and zebra thing. It's hard to,
Yeah.
it's hard to change human nature.
Yeah.
So you have to, you're either a zebra or an antelope. Sometimes an antelope can change into a zebra, but it's rare.
Fair. Exactly.
You have to be
I
around
would
a
like
lot
to
of
see that.
zebras for a long time.
If you find that, let me know. Because that would be interesting. We'll post that one. We'll post that video if we ever find that. So amazing. This was really incredible. And we could talk for hours as we do in general. But I think this is really, to anyone watching, really watch this again, and with, just don't be hard on yourself in regards to, oh, maybe I'm not doing any of this, or I am, or I'm not. Just take it in, because really what he's offering and what has been said on this is, I think, the gold, probably the top part of the gold of how to become not just profitable but happy in your own life, and watch the people around you have that same thing. And that's, I think, why we're all here, which is why he has given his time. Again, why this summit is free. This is not to it's for everyone to thrive in general. So is there anything, and do you want to end with anything in terms of any nuggets of gold, or anything, last things they can put in their pocket?
Yeah, I think Alana, and you tipped me up for this, but I hadn't thought about it until we got on the phone. But if anybody is out there and watches this and believes that I could be somehow helpful, and check my LinkedIn. If I know somebody and you want to know that person, or you want some advice or guidance, or you want some, you want a little coaching from me, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn, and I'll do my best to help as many people as I can. It's not ever a guarantee that I can take you exactly where you want to go, but I'll tell the truth. I promise that.
Yeah, that he will. That's that he will for sure, which is really generous. That's a huge offer, I think, because well, time is of value, and your time is value. Everyone's time is of value, and your offer to help people. So I would say in that space too is mention the summit. Like I always tell people, mention, create that relatedness. Let them know where you saw them and what you liked. And what.
I won't have any idea what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly. That's true too.
Start
Yeah.
talking about antelopes and zebras, I'll have forgotten all of that.
Yeah, exactly. If you throw the anteater in, you'll have no idea what we're talking about. So mention zebras or antelopes. So yeah, but that's really generous, because really it's just a generous offer. So thank you for opening up yourself like that to everyone. And like he said, it can't always be we want X and he can deliver X. It's really about what you create together. And sometimes there's the possibilities that you see, and sometimes there's not. But he's opening himself up as a human to you, so that there's a possibility for you to become more profitable in your life, whatever that looks like. So that's really, like, thank you for that. I really appreciate it a lot. And I know anyone out there, I would be the first person emailing, I tell you right now. So go to his page, look him up on LinkedIn as well, but there's a guest page as well that We'll have his bio. We'll have all of his information on there, so you can get in
You'll
touch with
probably
him.
have a link to my LinkedIn, right?
Yep, I'll have that. If for some reason you can't get in touch with him, and you should be able to, but just message me. Like my email is open to you. You know, and I always think this: if you're out there and you're watching and you're like, I don't think I can do it, I might be a leader, just message me, because you are a leader. You just, maybe either you don't have the network to say yeah and to stand for you, or maybe the confidence, whatever. Just message me and or John, and just say, you know, hey, this is what I'm thinking. So we believe in you, even though we don't see you. We believe in you, and you can create what you want in your life. Put yourself first, create your own defined culture, create that culture around you, ensure that's what you do before you start chasing cash or you chasing numbers and whatnot. And you know, it doesn't have to be a straight line, like you've shown, you know. Be true
It
to
shouldn't be
yourself.
straight. And if it's a
Yeah.
straight line, I mean, I'm sure there are people that are that
Yeah, I don't
are
know.
that are born as straight line people. I've just not met many of them.
Yeah, me neither. And they try, but it always goes like this. So, you know, that's the beauty of the journey. So yeah, I really appreciate this time. And again, we could talk for hours on the subject, and I'm sure anyone watching will be creating more of this and sharing more. And if you want more from Coop and I, then feel free to message us and let us know, and we're happy to share. So thank you again for being here for everybody.
My pleasure.
And thank you everyone for being here. Watch the other guests as well. Something I mentioned about the other guests is, and no one completely overlaps, but to this conversation's point, I was very intentional about who I requested to be here for you, and it was all based off culture. It didn't matter how much money I've never asked anyone how much money have you made. It was, who are you as a human being, and I created a defined culture, and that's the lens that I invited everyone here to share. And if you listen to the other ones, I guarantee you'll hear culture come up, you'll hear choosing yourself, and you'll hear similarities, but you won't hear the exact same thing. So join the others as well. It's incredible over the next 10 days, and then keep watching. And like you said, message him if you think you need him, or he's powerful, or thank him. You know, sometimes a thank you is just something that someone needs, or you just want to reach out. So thank you again, everyone, for being here, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
All right. Thanks. Bye bye.
All right, thanks.